Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to be talking about coping with our feelings. And a very warm welcome to you all. And for those of you who are in the US of A or in any way connected with the US of A, happy Thanksgiving weekend. For those of us in Canada, we did that last month. And it always amazes me what a big deal it is to remember the American one, but very few people seem to remember the Canadian one. Isn't that weird? It's like we do it on the wrong day, apparently. It always makes me chuckle. So a very good day to you all. And I'm pretty certain that Thanksgiving will have brought up a lot of feelings for some of the viewers. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that as we go along. So if you have any comments about your Thanksgiving, what you enjoyed about it, the feelings that you had, good, bad, or indifferent, feel free to just drop them in here so we can talk about them. One of the wonderful things about DearMamaSal as a group of people who get together 3 times a week is that we talk about real stuff. And, every day, I like to say that we're an extended family of people that learn together how to cope with life a lot better. And it's a really important thing for us all to understand that every day brings us challenges about our emotional intelligence, about our ability to cope with stress. All those things happen to us every day. It's not just some people get it, everybody gets it. And some people just handle it better than others, and it's not by chance. They have more understanding of what it takes not to overreact to stuff. So that's what we are all about. And I'd like to thank Jody for being here. Jody is our admin and really is a shining example of somebody who struggles with so many issues health-wise and yet still manages to do so much, not only for herself, but also for others. And, I'd like to just say that one of the things that always delights me about the DearMamaSal viewers is what they do, not only for themselves, but for others. I think of Jody, obviously, who was gifted 2 different turkeys this year by 2 different people who knew her. And instead of putting one into the freezer, what she did was she cooked both and then prepared meals for the less fortunate with the second one. I think that's, that is a wonderful way of demonstrating, great love for not only yourself, but for your community. And heads up to everybody who's done that. I know Jeannie does things like that as well. And for anybody else that is that way inclined, yay. This is a time of the year where I don't know about the rest of you, but my question of the week has to do with the homeless. I'm hearing an awful lot about COVID all over the place, obviously, and we'll talk a bit about that. But I was wondering, I don't seem to be hearing a lot about how is it affecting the homeless who maybe do not have the ability to stay, to do all the socially distant or hygiene type things necessary. And I don't know if any of you have heard anything about it, but if you have, please, let me know, because I would like to share that information. I'd also like to say welcome to everybody who might be listening, but not necessarily joining in on the chat. We always welcome that. It's wonderful to hear that, to see that you're there, because I can see how many people are in the background here. And I just want to say that I do welcome you, and I love it. I know some of you use the time when I do these broadcasts to get caught up on tasks and things, but you're learning at the same time. And I think that is a wonderful multitasking ability. And yay. I've got some viewers who use the DearMamaSal broadcast. They put it on and then they go and do a task for a week, clean up, like they know they need to clean up the drawers in the bedroom or something. And they'll go, okay, I'll put DearMamaSal on and then I'll do it while I'm listening to her. I think that's a wonderful use of time. I don't take that as anything but a great compliment. I'm not aware of any birthdays except for Pat's, I believe, next week. Hi, Jamie. Good to see you. Jamie, I'm hearing that California is going through a really bad spike at the moment, and I'm pretty certain 3 weeks from now it'll be even more devastating. So please stay safe. Everybody, be very, very careful. Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Jamie. I was saying that at the front end. Of course, as I said, for we Canadians, it's just like, yeah, it's about a month late, people. So I really want to say that how many of you actually did not get together with family, and how many of you did do that? And I'd like to know how you feel about that one way or the other. Or if you didn't and you know of people who did, how do you feel about that? Because it's really important to discuss it. All right, so Jamie's saying, yes, and I'm back to work. Okay, staying safe and taking all the precautions. That is, the best thing you can do. I wanted to check, Jamie, because we were discussing this last week. And one of the things that I said is I had noticed that I was taking less precautions when I went out, when I came back from going out. And it was a real heads up for me as well. So when I was out yesterday and I came back in, I immediately threw everything into the wash, everything that I was wearing into the wash, and went and had a shower so I could make sure that my hair was clean and that I wasn't carrying any droplets in my hair or something. And, I've decided I'm going to be more vigilant about doing that. So if anybody else has got any tricks of the trade, hi, Sam, good to see you. It's so cute. Sam is saying, hello, Mama Sal, Jody, and all of you, ladies and gents. I have missed you all so much. Well, we are delighted that you are here, and big hugs to you. I don't know why, Sam, but whenever you pop in, I always feel the need to have a big smile. And I wonder if you know that you have that effect. And I wonder whether anybody else does. And we deal a great deal on DearMamaSal with coping. And I'd just like to make sure we all understand that coping means that we invest our time and our conscious effort to solve personal and interpersonal problems, right? You understand? We spend the time to sort them out in order to try and master, minimize, or tolerate the stress and conflict. Now, that is what coping is about. Coping is about having the skills to be able to balance it out. Jody's saying, we did not get together with family, and it felt like it was the right decision for us. Other family members did gather, and they thought that was best for them. Right, so Jody, that is acknowledging that they have the right to do what they want to do and take the risks. I am pretty certain, and I was horrified how many people flew this weekend, but then I started to think about it, and I thought, I wonder how many people said it might be the last time, and therefore I'm prepared to take the risk. Yeah, Jamie's saying, I got together with just my immediate family. Yeah, and so, that's why I'm saying that I think, it's looking at it both ways. And I really did start to wonder how many people said, hey, what if this is the last Thanksgiving, that we never get a chance to do this again? I can sort of understand that some people might be motivated to take the risk based on that. Now, the fact that that they did it might create that scenario is another point altogether. But I try to find some balance there about it is their right to make that decision. And there's another part of me that goes, and I'm sure the airlines were very grateful. So did you guys have any feelings about all the people who flew, or anything else that went down around the same time? And Did any of you have any reason to shift your thinking? Did you start to get frustrated or angry or upset about something and needed to make a mind shift this week about anything, not just about Thanksgiving? Because that is something that is really important for people to understand, is that we all do that. I'm going to talk a bit about a couple of mine. But as I said, I started to get frustrated with people flying and going, don't they realize the risk that they're putting the rest of us under? And then I thought, well, what if it's the last time? Would I deny them that? Jamie saying, all right, on my way to work, I passed by Walmart and it is packed for Black Friday. The interesting thing I read, Jamie, yeah, okay, first of all, Jamie, let's deal with that. How did you feel when you saw that? When you saw that the car park was absolutely full because it's Black Friday? Sam is saying, oh, you're making me blush. In all seriousness, that makes me happy. I have a tattoo and it says, the brightest light comes from the darkest places. I try to live by that mantra. Yeah, I always said, Sam, that, people have asked me about why do I do Dear Mama Sal? And I always say, something, if my broadcast helps one person, I think it's worth doing. And so to me, we never know, right? And we never know who may listen to this 3 years from now and need it, all right? And one of the things that amazes me, and I've often laughed about this, is my most popular video I ever put down, which was one of the short ones. It was about my windshield wipers. And, it's amazing to see that thing has done, I think, over 260,000 views now. It's just like, whoever thought that would be the windshield wiper, would have done that. Yes. And Jody is saying, Jamie is saying about people going to Walmart. She said, I didn't mind as long as you are safe and protected. I've noticed a major change here in my building. One of the things, they had a fire drill last week or the week before, and I actually phoned them and I said, is this a fire drill or is it, should I be worried? You understand, I'm hypersensitive to fire alarms after my house catching fire a couple of months ago. So, and they said, well, no, there was a notice in the elevator. And I said, who's using the elevator? Think about that. It's a pandemic. People are trying not to use the elevator. About the worst place you could put it is in the elevator. Well, what amazed me this week is I went down to go and take the garbage down and do stuff like that. And they've got new notifications, but they're outside the elevators and every exit door. And I'm going, they listen to me. And, when I went into the garage, now a garage is a place that people are obviously going to, and then all the doors out of the garage, I noticed that they've got the notifications on. And I went, wow, I'm so glad I mentioned it because they've done something about it. Jody's saying, I get frustrated seeing people disregarding the precautions and reading that it's, just a flu. And if you wear a mask, you're a sheep. I can't wrap my head around that. What about the rest of you? Yeah, and I say, Jody, there will always be those people. All right? And my brother is one of them. And Sam is saying, Jody, that's frustrating for me as well. So many people are misinformed. They are believing non-scientific comment. And, I think when you start saying that which amendment is it the Second Amendment or the First Amendment that gives you the right to gather in places or whatever? But what I believe is that So many people are going to quote that. And they are the same people who don't obey other laws as well. I'd like to suggest that they think about it. They're probably the people that don't stop at stop signs a lot either, because they think that that stupid rule is for other people. Do you know what I'm saying? They are the sort of, and so they make their own rules in life. And we will always have those people. And the other thing is, I think an awful lot of people are in what I call pandemic meltdown now. It's been too long. People are getting fed up with it and they want it to go away. What they don't see is if you want it to go away, you need to, wear the masks and stay inside and only go out when you really have to. But some people just will never do that. So let me ask you, has your frustration with them changed anything? And I wonder whether any of you actually got angry. And has that changed anything? Jamie's saying Governor of California, that's Governor Newsom, I believe, and Governor of New York, that would be Cuomo, right? Undermined their own rules and went to that dinner. Yes. And the Denver governor said, everybody don't go home. And then he went home to his family. Yeah, I understand. That's called a double standard. And I think that is so typical, isn't it? Don't do as I do, do as I say. And how many parents do you know that do that every day? Tell their children they're not allowed to swear, but they swear like a trooper, or whatever. And so what I'm trying to make sure we all understand is that we're always going to have this problem. The pandemic's just bringing it out in spades. Jody's saying another thing is that people that wear masks, that make modifications to render them useless, holes for straws, etc. I would like to say that I still think that doesn't make them totally useless, Jody. It's just my feeling. Because most of, the hole for the straw is very small, right? So, they've got as much chance as picking up something on their hair, touching their hair later, and getting it as well. So to me, the straw thing doesn't worry me as much. I think that's better than lifting the whole mask off and doing things. Sam is saying, to be honest, I've had to distance myself emotionally from much of my family for that reason. Yeah. I've come to the conclusion that people are going to choose to believe what they will. And that is one of the great learnings of the pandemic. Yes, and Jamie's saying, during this lockdown, it helped me grow my relationship with God. And I think that is the other thing. When you look back on this year, and they say to you, what was your takeaway from the pandemic? Right? What was your takeaway? What did you do during that time? I think we will all say that we learned a great deal. All right? And Jody's saying, that there's, that those holes that are cut in to eat or to do whatever. Yeah, and I find it interesting because I am aware that I prefer to wear a shield, and what I realized was that my hair, because I wear the shield under my bangs, my hair protects the top part of me. I've got a lot of hair up there, but it's just like I feel safer wearing the shield because it's I don't think the bugs permeate into that plastic or through it. And then when I come home, I totally disinfect the shield, both inside and out, and then let it dry, ready for the next use. And I personally prefer that. I don't know why, I feel safer. Jamie's saying, I saw somebody cut the mask so they could breathe. Yes, that's somebody who doesn't understand how that works. And I try to imagine, if I were droplets of the flu dropping down, I don't think, from what I can understand, they sort of, it's the breathing in of those droplets as they're coming down. So to me, a solid piece of plastic, I feel safer. Now, is it true? I don't necessarily know. But is it true that people do have the right to go out and eat every now and then? All right. Or, it's just like some people, with all due respect, I'd like you to think about this for a second. Some people are not emotionally prepared to be told they can't do things. Do you know what I mean? I was talking to my neighbor, Betty Ann, yesterday. And one of the things, my neighbor at my old house, well, my house, for those of you who don't know, I'm living in a rented apartment at the moment while they hopefully start working on my house. But she was also getting very frustrated with things. And I thought it was interesting that she said that, in the 50s, when we had problems with a virus and the government said everybody stay inside, everybody did. In those days, we obeyed that sort of instruction at a very different level. And yet today, with everybody having grown emotionally and intelligence-wise and everything else, with that comes the other side, which is that people demand their right to do it their way very differently. And that's part of being in a democracy. As I've said very early on in this pandemic, would you rather live in China? And in China, when they say you're in lockdown, it's called you're in lockdown or else we start, shooting or whatever. And so you've got to look at it and go, are you grateful to live in a democracy? And are you grateful for the freedoms that you have? Even if it is at a greater risk. That would be my thought. But how many of you agree that, today's society doesn't obey rules the way it used to? And is it ever going to go back to the way that it was? I don't think so. No. And therefore, will we all be at greater risk? Yes, I believe so. And I don't think getting frustrated about it is going to change it. I also believe, and that's just my belief, that I can be as careful as I like. All right? I can be so careful. And then look what happened to me the other day. There was a delivery at my door, so I opened my door to bring in the box. And at the same time, somebody walked past my apartment door not wearing a mask. So do you understand? If they had coughed or sneezed, I would, it's just like, I didn't think about that possibility. Why? Because the delivery guys drop the box, knock, and then walk away. So by the time you get the door open, they're already gone. And so to me, it's just like, wow. And I heard today, I was reading somewhere yesterday that our chances of getting any contamination from a box that's coming in, even our groceries, they have said that the risk is far less than we originally thought. Has anybody else read that? But I thank you for the discussion on it, because I think the more we discuss it, the better. I decided to go out to my house yesterday to find out. Well, I need to go back there obviously to collect the mail and things, but I went back and nothing has been done in the house. So that's the whole week that they've had the permit and done nothing. How many of you can imagine that frustrated me a little bit? Jody's saying that's good to know. I didn't hear that about the groceries. Well, I read it, but what they also said, Jody, was, continue to do what you feel most comfortable with. And so I don't know what the rest of you do, but I keep a couple of wet wipes and some disinfectant available. And what I do is I just spray the parcels quickly and then just rub them over with a wet wipe. And then I wash that wet wipe, dry it, and then reuse it. I might have got a big thing about how many wet wipes are being thrown into the landfills at the moment. And to me, it's like they are made of far better material. And I wash mine and I keep them. I wash them by hand, but I keep them, and I keep them in a toilet roll, obviously. But what I do is I use them for cleanups in the bathroom. I have another lot in the kitchen that I use instead of paper towels now. And I just find that the quality of the ones that I bought, they're incredibly strong. And so you can, literally wash them out by hand and, and reuse them. And so that is also a money saver because you can reuse them as wet wipes again. You can just drop them in disinfectant water or just spray them before you go out. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I haven't got it here, but I keep a plastic baggie in my pocket where I've got these wet wipes with disinfectant on them, so that if the one I'm using dries out, that I can just, grab another one from my bag. And they are not new ones, they are reused ones. So think about that. So can you imagine the frustration that I have around nothing happening with my house? Now, it's not that I'm not grateful, because I am very grateful. I'm in a warm, safe environment, well, safe-ish. But I miss my house now, right? I've been out of it for 2 months. And, I'd like to think that I'm on the road to getting back there, which I know I am. But it's just like, really? You're not doing anything? And I'm thinking, and we're getting very close to Christmas now, which means that people are going to be less and less inclined to do work on my house. So can you understand? I can now choose to get frustrated or do what? Let's see how you guys do. What mind shift would help me deal with this better? All right. Now, I know what I've done. I just want to know what you guys would suggest. So I can stay being frustrated. I can even complain. Right? Or I could seek to understand. In other words, I could phone up and say, hey, I was at the house yesterday. I see that nobody has been in, or it doesn't look like anybody's been in, and the hole that I asked you to fix is still a hole. I'm concerned that they've got the dryer hole. You know where the dryer hose goes out? That is open. My house is now open to the rodents that want to come in and get warm. And so I asked them, please, to seal up that hole. And I thought to myself now, as I was talking about it, I need to stuff that with some stuff. If they're not going to seal it, maybe I need to. Right? If it's upsetting me, I got a choice to complain about it or do something about it. And I think what I might do is to just take some, what's that? Press and seal. I found that press and seal is wonderful stuff, and just put it straight across and seal it, because I'll also be able to see if anything tried to get in, because, it'll be dented. or it'll be open. So, but the thing is this, the other thing that I thought about was I can also choose to say, I don't expect to go back to my house until the spring at the earliest. Now, if I could get that mindset going, then I wouldn't get frustrated about what's not happening right now. Does that make sense? And maybe if I say, I don't expect to be back in the house until late spring, maybe summer, that would also stop me getting frustrated about the fact that nothing's happening now. Does that make sense? Now, is that fair? That's not fair. And so this is about my responsibility is to look after my stress levels, not to say what is fair or is not fair. By the way, if any of you have a subject about which you'd like me to talk, please write to me at DearMamaSal@gmail.com, and we'll do what we can to add it to a list. As I said, we at Dear Mama Sal here, we're extended family of people that get together. And on Friday lunchtime, we talk about feelings. Friday evening at 7 o'clock Pacific, we talk about life in general. And then on Sunday afternoon, we talk about coping with stress. And normally that is a much, calmer thing where we just try to just relax and get ready for the coming week. And I'd like to say that it's not about me, it's about the people that come in here and talk about their realities. And that to me, I don't know about you, but when you hear that other people are going through what you are going through, it makes it so much easier to understand and to listen to the way that they're coping. Really, I should not have done that. Okay, let me see what Sam said here. I would ask myself, where else can you make progress? What can you do within your control, maybe unrelated, that can help you feel success instead of feeling down? That's exactly what I did, Sam, and I'm going to show you in a second. Hi, Nyasha, good to see you. Jody's saying, when you find yourself being frustrated or thinking negatively, can you reframe it into a positive? Count your blessings. Yes, that's what I did. Now, as some of you know, I've been on a long journey learning how to make bread. Hold on one second, people. Okay, so in the journey to learn how to make bread, I'm going to see if I can turn this. You know that I've learned how to make sourdough, and that is great. And then I recently learned this week how to do the stencils on top. Can you see that? And to do the scoring on the side. Now, in case any of you get bread stencils, and if anybody needs to know what they look like, just let me know and I'll go and get them. But I found out by doing a lot of research, there is the right way and the wrong way to do those stencils. And the most obvious thing is that you put the stencil down and you pack the flour on top of it and take the stencil off. Well, that doesn't work. Believe you me, it does not work. It does look good, doesn't it, Sam? You see, and I always think that food, half the battle is how does it look? All right? And the interesting thing, in case you ever do it, Jody, just in case you ever do it, and you can cut out your own stencil, Jody, if you choose to, because you're crafty. But what I found works really well is put the stencil down, get a sieve, and then drop the flour onto the sieve, and then just shake the flour, and it'll just drop down into the right place. It won't be too much flour, and you then just lift off the stencil, and it looks absolutely magnificent. So, but how much joy am I getting out of learning how to do that? Yes, it's a dusting of flour rather than whatever. And what I found is if you spritz the loaf a little bit first, then it sticks as well. And I found that even though when I took it to my neighbor, I wrapped it in paper towel and then put it inside my tote, and it, didn't stay the right side up. And I got it over there, and I thought, well, that's obviously ruined the decoration. When I unwrapped it, the decoration was still there. And she was so impressed. And by the way, Jody, something else that I learned this week, and because this is how I cope with life, is I do things to distract me. I found that my sourdough bread, I'm now making a loaf once a week, slicing it, wrapping it in tin foil in 2 slices at a time. And then I can just bring out the 2 slices I need for tomorrow. I will bring out tonight. And every night I check to see. I don't always eat 2 slices. Most days I only eat 1. But what I do is I go, do I have 2 slices for tomorrow? And if the answer is no, I've only got 1, then I will take out another pack of tin foil with bread inside it and just leave it on the counter ready for the next day. And I found that it tastes just like I want it to. So Jody, just so you know, and I was telling Betty Ann that as well, because I took her a full loaf and you could see that she was really concerned. And I said, hey, I brought you a full loaf because I've got a trick for you. Now, the other thing is I reuse that tin foil. You're probably not surprised to hear that. I feel that it's a really good thing that tin foil is made as well as it is, because when I unwrap the bread, I just take a wet cloth and I just, clean off the tin foil, let it dry, fold it up and use it again next time. And I would like to suggest that we can save an awful lot of tin foil into the landfill if you realized how strong it is. Now, obviously, if you just baked your turkey with it, I wouldn't bother with that, right? It's way too much grease. But if you just use it for something and there's not a lot of crud on it, it's so easy just to wipe it flat and use it again. So thank you for understanding that one of the best ways is to divert your attention away from what is frustrating you and do something else. And hobbies are really good for that. So if you haven't taken up a new hobby or expanded your knowledge on your present hobby, it will help you so much. Take up a new hobby or learn a new game or do something that takes you away from getting frustrated with everybody. How many of you have been ordering food delivery? I wanted to find out, when I say order food delivery, not just groceries, but how many of you are using food delivery services? Having the food come to you instead of making it yourself, you're having the food being delivered. I wanted to find out because, I, for example, on my way back from being out yesterday, I thought about going and getting some poutine, and I went, no. So this is probably the next few months is going to be the height of the pandemic. And, if you want poutine, go home and make it. And so, it was interesting that I found myself going, no, I'm not going to do that this time. And I wondered whether any of you are ordering food to be delivered. And I'm amazed, that I think that's part of the new learning, how many people are doing that. I am finding, quite honestly, that I am eating differently. Have any of you found that? And perhaps we'll talk more about that this evening, how that has changed. So Jody, if you can make a note, I'd like to discuss that this evening. So do you understand that everything's easy to do once you know how to do it? How many of you understand that? Helps if I can get my phone working. Um, you know, that this didn't just happen, all right? This took, if you think about it, first I had to learn how to bake the bread. Then I needed the then I needed to learn how to score the bread. Then I needed to learn how to do the stencil. And this has all been one step at a time. And the funny thing was that for my birthday, Yvonne asked me what would I really like for my birthday. And I said, I'd really like one of those lambs, that's what it's called, Lame, but it's pronounced lamb, which is a cutting blade to cut bread. And what I managed to find was a combination, which was a proofing basket, a lamb, and the stencils. Now, that has brought me so much joy. And of course, the first loaf I wanted to take to Yvonne because thanks to her, I got the bits that I could do it. And the sadness for me was that I couldn't go to Yvonne because she's got COVID in the house that I used to own. And that was really sad for me. So I sent her pictures and said, this is what I was going to bring to you. But I'll slice it up and eat it myself now. But you understand, I wanted her to get the joy from the present. And so what I encourage you all to do is to learn these things slowly, one step at a time. What is the next step? Jody, has taught me so much about life being a marathon, not a sprint. That we all expect everything to correct in a heartbeat. And Jody, it's been interesting to me because, as you know, my blood sugar started to go up. And, the simple answer was I'm eating the wrong things and I'm not doing enough exercise. And so, I always look for the simple answer now. It's just like, I can have lots of excuses, but what's the simple reason for this? Well, the simple reason is I'm eating the wrong foods and I'm not getting enough exercise. What I found out, and I don't know if you can understand that, because this place is half the size of my home, I'm getting half the exercise. Does that make sense to anybody? For me to get up and go to the washroom here, is half this, not even a third of the steps that I would take in my own home. And so if I'm not compensating for that, then of course I'm going to have a problem. And so that sent me on to another challenge. Interesting. Jody's saying that she has been trying to simplify more and more. Yes, and that's what I am doing as well, Jody. I am literally working on that. So let's talk more about that this evening. And maybe, we can both think of some examples of where we're doing that. So has anybody been on an emotional roller coaster this week? I went on a big one. Oh, one of the ones that I had was this will be, some of you will relate to this, and I want to give you a heads up on this in case you're doing it. I ordered some stuff on Amazon. And it was quite a few things because I'm trying to order, once a month. And what is happening is very frustrating to me. Instead of everything being put in one box and being delivered to me, on Wednesday, I had 5 different deliveries. And there was a 6th one that came in yesterday that I had no warning of. And the guy was quite upset because I wasn't there when he wanted to deliver it. And I said I had no warning that you were coming. So there was part of me that went, why didn't they hack it all into one box and do one delivery? Well, they didn't. So you understand that I felt for the guy that was trying to deliver, because that must be frustrating. But, it was just like, excuse me, if you don't warn me you're trying to deliver, then how can I be home? Yeah. So Nyasha's saying it's so frustrating not being able to go out during the festive season as chronically ill individuals. I remember this time last year, I'd been shopping already, and now I'm unable to. Yes. And that is, I think, that's going to happen to a lot of people. And Nyasha, everybody's got that problem, right? It's not just you. I think everybody will understand this year. And maybe part of the lesson is us to let go of that feeling of not being able to do what we would like to do and thinking that that's because we're bad people. Now, some people are the prepared people that probably have finished their Christmas shopping already, and some are not. I am busy making plan B. I think that maybe there will be a lot of more homemade gifts or baking done this year than normal. And that's what I think will happen. Now, I went on, what's Sam saying? All right, Sam's talking about the shift that she's noticed. She said, that's funny, Jody. Me too. I've gone from being a hoarder to minimalist in just 2 months. I'm driving my family nuts. Yes, I am noticing that I'm starting to fill up every space in my apartment already. It's scary to me. And I've now got paint going as well. I ordered up paints and stuff, and my kitchen countertops are full. It's just like I am really, this week, my goal is to clear a lot of things and just clear the countertops again and put things away. But I notice that I'm doing the opposite, Sam, is I'm starting to put things on the countertops again, and it's just like, no, they need to go away. And the reason they're not going away is because most of the shelf space is so high, that you've got to climb on a step ladder to get to it. And I'm thinking, maybe that's a good thing. Give me more exercise. So here's what happened to me. I was talking to my sister about Thanksgiving, and she was complaining about, she was on her own and and everything else. And I said, well, would you like me to, do a video chat with you on Thanksgiving? Would that, be an idea? Oh, yes, please. And then I said, well, what platform would you prefer? And she said Zoom. And I said, okay, fine. So I downloaded Zoom and got everything ready. And then the day before, she wrote to me and said, no, I've decided I don't want to do it because I don't want anything to get messed up and then spoil the holiday. Well, I don't know about you. It was like, okay, so hang on a second. And then I went, something, let it go. Let it go. So fearful that she and I would come to blows during that small conversation that she would rather not have the conversation at all. Can any of you understand both sides? Jody's saying, Sam, my husband saves everything and I'm more of a streamliner now. We are trying to compromise, and that's led to some funny conversations. Yes, I must admit that I am checking to see why I've suddenly got more stuff. And, Jody, that's part of the conversation that I would like to add to tonight as well, which is, what is it that I am starting to collect? And it's food. But again, it's pandemic food. Does that make sense to everybody? Air and a spare. Important. So I wonder whether any of you had any family issues over Thanksgiving. And if so, if you'd like to chat about it, let me know so that we can see if we can come to common ground. I must admit that I found it, I got pretty bent out of shape, that because I'd gone to all the trouble to, to get things ready for that. And then at the last moment, it got canceled. But what worries me is I've been invited to her 80th birthday party. And I'm going, if you can't even have a telephone or a Zoom conversation with me, that you're in that much fear, then maybe I shouldn't go to that birthday party. And I think I'm going to talk to her about that and say, hey, if you were perfectly honest, would you rather I was not there? Because obviously she has such fear of this happening. Hi, Jeannie, good to see you. And congratulations. I understand that it looks like the roof will go on. And they haven't even started on mine yet, Jeannie, so just well done. For those of you who don't know, Jeannie's house also had a fire, but they've now rebuilt all the walls and they're ready to put the roof on, so I think that's wonderful. Sam's saying all you need is a little inspiration, but for me, I needed to start slow, create a system, and trust my decisions to let things I won't miss go, even if it's one item at a time. I think it's a great way of doing it, Sam. One of the ways that I found when I was downsizing was I'd take one drawer and put everything on the bed because you knew I'd clean it up by the time I went to bed. And then I'd say I can only put half of it back. And I was amazed how easy it was to throw half away. Isn't that interesting? Sam's saying about Jodi's discussion. Good for you, Jodi. Anything that opens up more conversations between each other is probably always a good news. The same way as I thank you all for talking about your real life frustrations and feelings, because I really do believe that when we can talk about our feelings more, other people learn from that. All right. And that, here we have Jodi's trying to be more minimalistic, and Lionel, her husband, is starting to hoard more. I think both are interesting. And so one of the things that, Jodi, that you might want to talk about is, hey, this is your room, and pick a room and go, anything you want to hoard, you can hoard it in there. In other words, your whole life doesn't have to be affected. Now, Jodi, I'm pretty sure that you've got a whole lot more stuff than he has, right? Because you're a crafty person. So this is about, think about that. Jeannie's saying, we had one guest for Thanksgiving, okay. All right, so she wasn't immediate family. So I'm presuming Dee isn't your immediate family, but she was your family of choice. All right, Sam is saying, yes, I put a bag in the closet and say to yourself, if 1 month, whatever, I don't miss, it's going into the donations bin. Yes, I do that every season. And I found that works really well. I found that keeping, for example, I keep all my sweatshirts. Well, I'm not at home, but if I were at home, I keep all my T-shirts together in one group, my sweatshirts in one group. And what I do is I try to use the one on the right-hand side first. In other words, when it's washed, I put it on the left-hand side. So whatever's on the right-hand side. And by the end of the season, I'm amazed how many things are on the right-hand side that I haven't pulled out once. I've always gone for the next one. So what do I know? I don't need to keep that one. Right? And so I do that sort of every season. Now, talking about that, how many of you buy yourself something new every season? Because to me, what happens is that some people say, if I throw something out, I am allowed to buy something new. Or I'm only allowed to buy something new if I throw something out. Now, what I do, and I know this sounds strange, I actually, every season, I buy, uh, I, I buy new underwear. So every season, I will buy a new bra. Does that make sense to anybody? And so to me, because what I found was that I used to hold on to my bras forever, and they were, you know, it just didn't feel right to me. And so what I decided was every season I am going to buy myself. And so I've always got good bras. Um, and I wonder what the rest of you do. Do any of you do anything like that? So one of the things I've taught myself is if it's the start of a new season, then it's time for you to look at your underwear generally. And also you will notice that I bought myself a new sweatshirt. And interesting. Jody's saying I buy new pajamas and underwear every season. See, and that's interesting, isn't it? And that's not a luxury. That is called mental health, because it's a really good thing. I find it's really important for me. All right, some of you may buy new makeup every season. All right, and what I noticed when I had the fire and I had to go and buy emergency makeup, I said, why don't you just buy some makeup for the fall? And that's what I did. Jeannie's saying buying seasonally seems good to me. I bought a warm top with plaid snowman on it for Thanksgiving. Well, this is the whole thing. Now, I'm inclined not to buy what I call seasonal clothes that are obvious. But I understand that, I thought about, should I buy a winter sweater, a Christmas sweater type thing, or a Christmas cardigan or something. And I thought the chances are I'm probably not going anywhere for Christmas. And therefore, why would I spend that money that way? Next year is a better way. You wanted to feel festive, then that's a really good thing to do, right? And I think the same way as you chose to share your festivity with another human was a great idea. Right? And I'm certain that Dee really appreciated it. And so I was talking about you as well, Jenny, because I've noticed that you are great about helping your fellow human being, as is Jody. And, it's really important that you understand that that is a two-way trade. And that giving to others not only benefits them, but it benefits you as well. Interesting. Sam saying, that makes perfect sense. It's been years, and so I'm probably due. It makes more sense to do that instead of coming home with Bath and Body Works for every season. Think about that. Okay. The other thing is that understand that fashion fashion is designed to make you spend money. And I don't buy fashionable clothes anymore. I haven't for years. What I buy is, something that this is like a tunic and it has pockets, in it. It's sort of hip length, and I love it, and it's very comfortable. And I know that I will wear this over jeans. I can wear it, be comfortable. And that's really important. I also know that it will go over, under part of the sweatshirt combination, and what I call it, the tracksuit. It'll go under there as well. Hi, Amber. Good to see you. All right. So Jeannie is saying about her Thanksgiving meal, if we'd gone to the finest restaurant for the meal, we could not have had better. Exactly. Or better company. All right, Nyasha, good to see you. Keep up the good work. Now, talking about feelings of joy, did any of you have feelings of joy this week? I had feelings of great joy when, I'm using the We Fit program, WII. What I realized was that as I do more and more things on the We, it's releasing more and more options to me. We sort of, if you do this many yoga exercises, it releases another one, right? Or you do this many strength building exercises, it will add another one. Well, one of the things that it released this week was, it has a walking thing that was really interesting. But then it added an extra walk, a bigger one. And then I've already had added a walk around the island. And I thought, oh, that would be interesting to see how far I could go. And it was really interesting because the day that I started it, this would have been Wednesday, I got halfway around the island and I was exhausted, and it was just like, that's ridiculous. But what I realized was I was doing the same as I would be doing outside. I was taking a walk and I didn't have to run it. Do you understand? I need to adjust my thinking. Just because it says the island run doesn't mean I have to run it. I can walk it. The idea is I'm trying to get more fit and I'm trying to get more balance in my life. And so what I did was do it and see how far I could go. So when I went to do it yesterday, I said, okay, well, I did half the island yesterday. And so I will do half the island, and it's got little markers in between, like it's a bit like a fuel gauge in the car, and I went, and I'll go to the next marker. That'll be the half that I did yesterday plus the next marker. And, it was amazing because when I got to the next, first of all, I struggled to get halfway there. But it was interesting. Once I got halfway around the island, I said, I just need to go to the next marker. And I did. But by the time I got to that marker, I thought I could get to the next one. And I kept doing that. And then I ended up doing the whole island. And that put over 1,000 steps on my day. So that was awesome. I'm going to be doing that again this afternoon. I'd like you to think about that, because one of the things that you will notice when you're in lockdown and pandemic mode is you're getting less and less exercise. So please, let's come up with some ideas on what you can do to get more exercise. Now, Jody, one of the things that you will have found is that actually standing up and cooking and baking and doing those things, you actually do more steps than you think you do. I've always found that when I'm cooking, I do way more steps than I think I do. And you might want to sort of start being aware of that. Also think about how much time do you spend sitting down at the computer or sitting down watching television. And so what I've always recommended to people is, if you want to be more active and feel more active, please think about that. Have times in the day when you check your emails, and that's it. I check my emails first thing in the morning, and then again at sort of mid-afternoon, and then again in the evening, right? I try not to sit all day at the computer because it's so easy. Jeannie's saying her thing about joy this week was about the rebuilding of her home. Joy about ordering major appliances, joy at picking out the colors for the cabinets. Awesome. And for me, that's causing stress, even though it hasn't arrived. Isn't it interesting? I'm thinking it's Black Friday, and I could be ordering so much at a good price, but I can't put it anywhere. So therefore, there's not much point in ordering it. It's like, right. What I have noticed, though, and that's another feeling of great joy, is I am sleeping way better. Probably the best sleep that I've been getting for years. I'm getting 8 to 9 hours sleep now. And so to me, that is amazing. Yes, Jeannie's saying some of her things won't arrive until January. Well, they haven't even started the rebuild of my house, so it's absolutely pointless my getting anything because I'd have to put it into storage somewhere. And so that would cost me extra anyway. So you understand I wouldn't end up winning on this one. Jody's saying feelings of joy and telling my friends how thankful I am for them. Watching You've Got Mail, all right, with Lionel as a Thanksgiving tradition. And all the baking that we did. Jody, you inspired me because I actually ordered up. And then, what I realized is that I'm inclined to bake the cookies that I like. And so, it's just like, yeah. So what have I got? I don't know about the rest of you. I love mincemeat pies, the tarts. Now, that's an English tradition. Not very many people like them, but I love them. So I got a big bottle of mincemeat. Now, I probably still got a bottle in my other fridge. So I'm going to have to just make some and just limit the number I can eat. And then luckily that stuff lasts forever. And then I also noticed I got the ingredients to make some ginger snaps. Another thing I love. Now, we all know that I love shortbread, so that's going to be the next one on my list. And, it's not about. I was thinking about the fact, Betty Ann is such a baker. I could never, ever top her baking. But it's not about that. It's just about the thought. All right. And so what I've decided to do is to have little containers in places and start filling them up with things. All right. Because that's the only way I can do it. And I'm just going to do the best I can. And just say, hey, it's a different year. Jeannie's saying, our builder said that we could get a storage unit for those things. Yes, but that's still a cost. Even if he says it's for free, you'll end up paying for it some way. Jeannie's saying one pie we got was a lattice apple. Jody's really good on those sort of pies, yes. And Jody likes mincemeat tart as well. Okay, so I'm not alone on that one. But it is funny, isn't it? It's like, no, I'm amazed that I guess in England everybody eats them, and over here not so much. So it's I don't like pumpkin pie, but everybody who grew up with it obviously does. So, or nearly everybody. Interesting. We'll talk more about that this evening as well. So my question to you all is, in what way are you prepared or unprepared? Are you feeling prepared or unprepared for Christmas? And if so, what differences are there? Jody's saying, I'm making whipped shortbread and snowball cookies, and about 4 others so far. I'm making platters to give out as gifts instead of buying other things. Yes, I'm going to be doing the same sort of thing. The whipped shortbread I would normally make, but I don't have the equipment to make it this year the same way. But I'm going to do the best version of it that I can. Jeannie's saying, I made caramelized onions and green bean casserole, butternut squash, 2 small turkey tenderloins with red potatoes and stuffing. So we could have great food for more than one day. I must admit that I do that now. I've learned that trick big time. I've ordered up a turkey breast, and I will cook all of it, even though I live on my own. And then I will slice it and package it. But then here's what I found. I started to be aware that I don't eat leftovers well. Now, some of you may do, but I don't. So therefore, if I cook a whole meal and put it in the freezer as leftovers that I can eat, I don't eat it as well. I found that I will pull out 2 slices of turkey and then decide what I want to do with it and put fresh vegetables with it. Do you understand the difference? For some reason, that is a much better use of my fruit and vegetables. And I have also found that it's saving me room in my freezer, but so the only things in my freezer are what I call the meat choices. Okay, so now Jeannie's saying, I have several friends Thanksgiving gifts instead of Christmas presents. I ordered 3 throws with an animal for each of our grandchildren, sent it directly to them. Yeah, by coming. Yes, and you know something? I'm doing that for the for Benji and Judy and the family this year. I already spoke to Judy about that, and I found she and I collaborated together about what I could get for the girls, and what I'm going to get for Benji. And so, to me, that's like, and I will do the same thing. I will order it up, have them wrap it, and send it directly to them. I think we'll all be doing a lot more of that. By the way, I would say be prepared to do it early. Do it this week if you can. Jody's saying maybe I could make fudge and give it out as gifts. Jody, it's about my blood sugar. You know that if I make fudge, it happens to be one of my indulgences. I love fudge, big time. So if I make it, I will eat it. Yes, Ginny, that was for Christmas. That's what I'm saying. I think it's a really good idea. And to get it done early. Why? Because it's going to, all those, Amazon and everybody else, going to be way busier this year than they've ever been. They're going to, by the way, if you've got money, I'd probably put it on Amazon right now, because they're going to really do so well. So to me, it's just like, think about that. They're going to be really busy. Order early, let them wrap it, let it go to wherever it has to go, and tell them, please don't unwrap it until Christmas. So Jody, you understand, it's not that I don't want to make fudge. It's like I have to think about what's the lesser. That's why I think ginger snaps are less dangerous for me than the whipped shortbread. The whipped shortbread, I will only make at the last moment. I already did one batch of chocolate-covered marshmallows. Guess how many I've got left, Jody? Now what I've got are the little bags to put them in. And so this week I'm going to get them in the bags and tie them up so that then I won't be tempted to eat them. I will still keep some aside and eat them, of course. But, understand now it's like I've got to get the boxes to put things in. Yes, okay, Jody understands what I'm getting at. Ginger snaps are practically a health food. That's the way I look at it. So, and the same thing as marshmallows are surprisingly not as bad as you think they are. They're not nearly as bad for you, for example, as fudge. And so that's the way that I'm looking at it. Now, I did something else. Have any of you ever made a cake in a cup? Mug cake, I think it's called. Where you actually make a cake in a cup. I had feelings of great joy yesterday when I decided to take a box of cake mix, and I just put in about a third, threw in an egg, whipped it up, added a bit of milk to it, I think, and a little bit of oil, and mixed it all up. And I stuck it in the microwave for 2 minutes. I had this massive, it grew and came up. It grew right up and over, and it was wonderful. And it was just like, so I really recommend that, buy a box, what do you call it? A package of cake mix, but just use, I think I put about a third in. And I reckon that limits how much cake you're going to eat. So, to me, this is about getting creative. Jeannie's talking about the fact that she's sending, main goat soap to people. And I think that's, really clever. It's very thoughtful. What is harder to wash well? Sorry, Jeannie, I missed that. It's harder to get to wash the mug afterwards. Is that what you're saying? Mine worked beautifully in the dishwasher overnight. So, but it's worth the extra work if necessary. I so enjoyed it. I want to tell you something. I went, wow, and it just came up so beautifully. That's what I was impressed with. So I was thinking, for those of you who want to, experiment this year, maybe learn how to do something fancy with chocolate or something. You know what I mean? Learn something new, because I think it'll be worth it. And order early. I like that it's a small portion. That's why I did it. And it's like I was getting bored with the desserts that I like to have dessert. And I thought, well, what can I make? And, and quite honestly, it was great. Yes, Jody's saying the same thing. A mug cake can be perfect portioning. You can make up a batch of mix as well, even keto friendly with almond flour, and keep it in a Tupperware container and have it at the ready. One of the things I'm really missing, Jody, is all my containers. This is, I've got 4 mugs, 4 plates, 4 side plates. But, what I don't have are all the containers, the Tupperwares that, there's just like, you have to get really creative. But what I was thinking was that maybe I could do an experiment to see, can I do a batch and freeze it in baggies and then pull out one and cook it? I wonder if that would still work. I don't see why not. One way to find out, right? I want to just go again. I noticed that even more people in the Defense Department were fired again this week. I want to tell you, I have to ask the question, why is he doing this? There's got to be a good reason, and I just don't know what it is, and it worries me that it's all happening around the Defense Department. So I'm certain eventually it will all come out and we'll understand it better. But I keep thinking, what a time of the year to do it, in the middle of a pandemic, and you're going to put these people out of work and possibly lose their pensions. And I don't know why it makes me so angry, and I've got to let that go. Jeannie's saying, I dislike the plates we have here, so I purchased 3 melamine plates at $1 each for Thanksgiving. Yeah. Yeah, that's called doing what you need to do, right? And I miss all my plates, and I want to tell you, I miss my mixers, and it's just, it is what it is. And I guess I could pull them out of storage, but it's just like, is it really worth it? I think I'm just going to make a plan. Did any of you feel any feelings of respect or disrespect this week for somebody for whatever they did? Interesting. Jody's saying, Jeannie, just a friendly reminder that melamine doesn't go in the microwave. It's very dangerous. And Jeannie's saying she had paper plates for dessert. Okay, so I didn't know that about melamine. I don't think I have anything that's melamine, so, but it's interesting to hear. Thank you, Jody. And while I'm waiting to get the comments back on respect or disrespect, my next question would be, did any of you learn anything new this week? All right, did you start forming a new habit this week? I want to say that it's really important, if you want to keep living, not existing, is to keep learning new things. You know, as you know, the whole thing about the bread is I keep learning new techniques. I keep learning how to make a better sourdough than the one I made before. And to me, it's always interesting. But it's like, learn something that is useful to you, that you've always wanted to, because if you think about it, you've got more time now than you had before. Interesting. Jeannie's saying that she used other containers in the microwave and then put food on the plates. That makes sense. Jody is a mother hen. She's trying to look after you. I hope you hear the love. So, how many of you are feeling the stress, maybe, of trying to do Christmas with less money? And what are you feeling around that? And I'd like to turn that one around. And are you prepared to receive less this year? In other words, however well-meaning your family and friends may be, they're probably hurting. And so it would be a really good idea to make sure that you have those discussions and make sure that everybody knows that, it's a tough year. The other thing is that, again, another problem with my sister, I had this where she was going to send me an Amazon gift card. And then something went wrong with it. And then that's it. She's not doing it. And I'm not allowed to send anything. And da-da-da-da. And it's amazing how every time she tries to do something for me, it goes wrong. It's actually scary. And then when it goes wrong, the thing is that because she had a problem, I'm not allowed to do anything. And I've taught her now. I just go, you're entitled to do what you want to do, and I will do what I want to do. And so to me, it's just really interesting how this goes down all the time for me. And it's just like, please, God. Interesting. Jeannie's saying, I worry about the insurance company not giving enough to cover our appliances, plus the other things we lost. They made a lowball offer. We refused and are waiting for a second offer. I'm really concerned about that as well. That's why I'm not buying until I know what money I've got. Jody's going in terms of respect. I feel so respected and loved by Lionel and my friends, and a bit of disrespect and a guilt trip, no surprise, during a phone call yesterday from a family member. Yeah. And, I think the difference, though, Jody, if I understand it correctly, is you have learned to expect that. You now see the pattern, and that you really, you understand rather than get mad. You know what I mean? That you don't, you realize that's who they are, and that they're going to give you the guilt trip, the same as I expect it now, and I got it twice this week, right? But you know, it hurts, but it's like, hey, I've just got to let it go. And the other thing is, as Jeannie so rightly says, some of us admire and love you for who you are. And, you know, I am certain as well, Jody, because I know that you've learned the balance trick. I am certain there are people on their side that love and value them for who they are, because they don't see the bit that you see, all right? Because they don't recognize it for what it is. And so that's what I like to think of now. Same thing with my sister. The fact that she and I press each other's buttons without even meaning to is just the way that it is. And, you know, boy, we keep trying, but, you know, it just doesn't seem to balance. And I think the interesting thing is that it worked really well until I started to get fed up with being controlled. And once I got fed up with being controlled, that's when all hell let loose. And it has been ever since, because she knows I'm not going to allow it. And so, you know, that's, I could choose to let her control me, and it would be hunky-dory, or not. Yeah, and Jodie's saying about her family members, all right, I teared up from the sadness of the situation, not anger. I love them so much, and I just wanted to agree to disagree and move on. Yeah, and you see, Jodie, that is, I am certain that that's what they want as well. I am certain my sister wants nothing more than for me to just be the sister she always wanted me to be. And I can't tell her the truth, because the truth is she just doesn't understand that, hasn't done the work. Judy's saying, I felt joy that my cousin called from Vermont to check in. Isn't that nice? So remember that one of the best gifts, Judy, that we can give one another is to talk to one another. I think that's a really, really important thing to remember this Christmas. I had a really great chat with Benji this week. All right. And to me, that was just delightful. You know, we don't get to talk every week, but this week we did get to chat, and it was great. And, you know, I got to interact with Judy this week and you know, sort out presents for the children and so forth. So, you know, it's about, but think about the real voice stuff. And I definitely, I'm going to make a lot more telephone calls this year than I would normally make. In other words, not just send the email, but, you know, talk. Did anybody make any mistakes this week? And if so, how are you feeling about them? And did you learn from them? What's the truth? Yeah, Judy's saying that Benji and Judy seem to have a marvelous time with Leah and the girls. I want to tell you something, that is a happy household. And yet there is so much else going on in their lives. And, you know, but what I love so much is that they make the best of everything. And they are very lucky to have the faith that they do. And I say that I think people who have faith have an advantage over a lot of people in some way. And when you understand that everything just happens for a reason, we just don't understand it at this time. So I think it's a wonderful example of seeing the best in your life and be grateful for every moment. But, one of the other things is to understand that when you get great stuff happening in your life, you also get other stuff happen in your life. And that is what the balance is all about. I always find it interesting that people think that their life is without problem when really they have a lot of issues going on. And yet they choose not to live the issues. They choose to live the life of happiness that they chose. And I think that's wonderful. And I really recommend it. And, one of the things that Benji is really aware of is that I am on my own. I'm not in lockdown with somebody. I don't have somebody to talk to all the time or, other than through social media. But, it's like he is really aware that it's important for me to have those conversations and just for my mental health. And he was really impressed about what I've been doing with the Wii. And I want to tell you the really surprising thing with the Wii is how much I've improved in, about 10 days now. And I think that's I know it's a shock to me just how much I've improved in such a short space of time. And I can see that it's having results. Now, is it having results on my weight? Not so much. Is it having results on my blood sugar? Not so much it, but I do know I'm doing the right things. And that's more important to me. So have any of you had any feelings of chaos this week? I had total chaos. When I went to the house yesterday to go and collect the mail and pick up a couple of things from my cupboards there, I've got a couple of cupboards that still have food in them. And it's like my pantry is still there. So I went to go and pick up some things from the pantry. Hi, Kimmy, good to see you. And but when I got there, I don't know if any of you will see the humor in this. I realized that the last time I was there, I was planting some spring bulbs, but I must have got distracted somehow. And I realized that I had left the bulbs in the garden unplanted for over a week. And I'm thinking, I should really plant those, but it was raining. And I'm thinking, And then I went, Sal, plant the bulbs. I don't care if it's raining, plant the bulbs, because next week it's going to get to freezing and you're not going to be able to plant the bulbs anymore. So just plant the damn things. And I really did. I stood, and luckily I had a jacket on that was waterproof, but and it was long, thank goodness, so that it covered my butt as well. But I literally quickly planted the bulbs and then went, okay, that's done. One more step. And Jody, I really want to tell you, seeing as you're talking about my experience on the Wii is inspiring you. The trick, I have to talk to myself a lot when I use the Wii. I have to remember I am not doing this to be in competition with anybody. I remind myself every day, it doesn't matter what scores I come up with. What matters is, am I doing 30 minutes a day? Do you understand? And so this is about, am I doing 30 minutes of movement, intentional movement a day? Because that takes discipline and it takes concentration and it takes commitment. And that is my trick to see how my mental health is. Because am I giving excuses not to do it? So far, I think I've done 10 straight days without an excuse. That's what I'm working on. Can I find the time to look after my body? And, I think, Jody, that's the big lesson for me in using the Wii, is this is my time. We talk about that, about one of the ways you limit stress is to make you time, me time. It's about the consistency and commitment, not the scores. Exactly. And if you can see that, and by the way, Jody, I stun myself every now and then. This week, on 2 different occasions, I did an exercise where I would normally use the chair for balance, and I didn't. And I didn't care what my score was. Thing was, wow, I could not stand on one leg and do that 10 days ago. Now, it doesn't matter how badly I did it. I couldn't stand on one leg and do that 10 days ago, and today I can. And therefore, now I will start building that up. Yes, and Jody's saying you're building up stamina, improving balance, mobility, and range of motion. Yes, and funny enough, there's this one exercise that I'm doing really well on, and what surprises me is how much my balance is shifting back to being normal. You remember I had the problem with my left hip? Well, I'm getting more and more weight onto that side now, and now I'm just a little bit heavier on this side, but not very much. And that's very, that gives me feelings of great joy, as you can imagine. But it's taken dedication and a lot of work. But again, it also is about being safe, all right? Because remember, I don't have a walk-in shower here. I have a shower inside a bathtub, which means I got to walk inside the bathtub. And so far, I have felt perfectly safe the whole time because I've got a very good bath mat to stand on, and I have not had any issue. And I've got another bath mat, rubberized bath mat under my, the cloth bath mat on the other side. Yes, Jody's making a very good point. Okay, I'm doing the wee. I'm sleeping on a different mattress, a new mattress. That definitely has made a difference. And I've got better shoes. Jody, perhaps the most impressive thing and the feeling of absolute amazement on my side is that has all helped get rid of the edema. And, my legs, as you know, were swelling up badly the whole time. And I think the shoes did it. To a very large extent. Not walking around in flip-flops and slippers and things, but wearing proper shoes has made, rubberized shoes, has made all the difference. Judy's saying, a driver nearly hit me 2 days ago. I let go of the anger and got away from him. Yes. Jeannie, well done. One of the interesting things is I've learned to say, when that sort of thing happens to me, I'm glad that I'm not in that much of a hurry and not under the sort of stress that person must be under to take those risks. And I found that helps me stay calm. After the initial shock, you're bound to react initially because it's scary. But the main thing is, as Jody says, I'm glad that you're safe, right? That's the first thing. Give thanks for being safe. And then I've amazed how many people I've driven with that scream and shout at the person. I'm going, they can't hear you. Why are you doing that? You're just stressing yourself out. They cannot hear you, nor do they care. It's just like, why would you put yourself, well, he shouldn't have done that. And I go, yeah, we know that, but not making any difference to him. You're just getting your heart rate up for no reason at all. Judy's saying it was terribly close and I survived by getting out of his way quickly. Exactly. And that's give thanks for that your reactions were good. And pray for him to find some level of peace because, to be driving like that. And chaos, Jody, you were saying, I missed that somewhere. I know you said something about the cooking. I'm just trying to find it. A little bit of normal coordinated chaos with the Thanksgiving cooking. Quite normal, I think. Yeah, did you do more than you thought you were able to, Jody? Junie was saying that he was in the wrong lane. Yes. But he actually believes that the world should stop for him when he makes mistakes like that. So yes, Jody is saying, Sal, one of the silver linings to the tragedy of the fire has been you found out what a difference a new mattress made in your health. Yep, absolutely. And the quality of my sleep. No doubt about it. And, you know, there is the question, Jody, that I have been on a totally flat mattress for 2 months. So maybe the lifting bed is not as good for me as I thought. Is it the mattress or the fact I'm sleeping flat or both? Now, I do miss my bed coming up because, you know, when I go to bed, I like to watch a little bit of television, and I find it very difficult to lie in bed flat and watch television. You know, it's sort of like, yeah, that doesn't work. But we will find out when I get back, because I will get, what I really am considering now, Jody, is to get a mattress, you know, that is air filled, like a Sleep Number type thing. Because then, even with the bed coming up, if the mattress loses some air, you can pump it back up again. What I'm finding is that my bed, because it lifts up, ruins mattresses, right? Because the mattresses are constantly being bent like this. Whereas if you've got an air-filled one, it's not going to do the same sort of damage. Yes, Jeannie's saying that one of the things that she thought about when the guy, you know, cut her off and did whatever he did to her was, you know, she thought about, he wondered whether he had been taken ill. Maybe the reason he was in such a hurry and making the bad choices was because he was not well, or maybe he was rushing to the hospital because he had a family member with COVID. You know, we don't know those things, Jeannie, and that's a really good way to balance it out. That to give him the benefit of the doubt is a really good way to lower your stress levels. Well done. Proud of you. And again, did any of you deal with confusion this week, that feeling of confusion? I'm trying to think, did I get confused about, yeah, I got really confused with the problem with Amazon delivering 5 different packages to the same address in the same day. It's like, really, they had to have a central point, but I guess they still make money that way. So the other thing I was thinking about, the only thing that made logical sense to me, was they weren't all coming from Amazon. Do you know what I mean? That I think they were all coming from different places. And maybe that's how they fulfill now, is they fulfilling from different points. And therefore that would make sense why it was, you know, they were all coming from different places. But do any of you have the solution? That was the next thing I thought about. You know, what is the solution to this? And I'm going to start saying they can only deliver on certain days at certain times. In other words, you know, I'm going to pick 3 afternoons a week that they can deliver on. And I will stay, you know, aware that those are the days I'm going to get deliveries. I reckon that's the only solution I can think of. Just before we sort of go into the final rundown on this one, do any of you have anything in particular that you would like me to discuss before we go? Or that you would like me to discuss this evening? Jody says, what I know is that you've been under tremendous stress and you're still glowing. Aging in reverse. You're taking care of yourself and your zen is showing. It's remarkable. Thank you, honey. Kimmy's saying, I am confused about my A1C and the number they gave me for that. and my monitor numbers are low. All right, so what was the A1C that you got again? It was a little high, right? Now, it could be that your monitor is not recording correctly. And one of the things is to get the monitor checked. But if you know that it's inclined to show you lower numbers, it was 7, okay? So it's just a number, Kim. And are you taking metformin or not? Okay, I've got to look that up, honey, because you know I'm in Canada and we do it differently. So let me see what that is. Wow, so that your fasting this morning was 100. Wow, that's pretty low. All right, so I don't know what Victoza is. Is it like a metformin, Jody? Jody is my expert on these things. You see, mine is doing the opposite. My fasting levels are horrible at the moment. You know, they're up in the 7s every morning, and I managed to get one into the 6s this week, which is an improvement. Oh, it's an injection. Okay, so how often do you do that? So that's insulin? I didn't realize you were... your numbers are almost always low. Okay, that's awesome. So you're saying that you've got... I would be discussing this with your doctor. All right, because your doctor needs to know this if you haven't already had that discussion. And just say, can he explain to you why you're getting numbers as low as this, and yet the A1C is coming in? I mean, I would think there has to be a reason for that. Maybe it's the time of the day that you take the injection. I don't know. Yeah, I would keep at it because, you know, it's like something needs to be sorted out here. I find it interesting. I'm starting to take my blood glucose at about 10:30 at night. And you know what confuses me is that last night, after I'd eaten, my blood glucose was 8 after I'd eaten. And yet I slept for close to 9 hours, good 8 hours anyway. And, you know, it was still 7 when I woke up this morning. So you understand, it's like, what do I have to do? All right. Yes, I would definitely have your monitor checked. That's a really good idea. And also ask them, if this is what it's reading, why am I getting a 7 A1C? There's got to be a reason for that. Maybe, you know, you're checking first thing in the morning, but you're eating the wrong things later on. I don't know. And then the injection covers that up. I'm not quite sure. All right, so you do your injection about 8 or 9 in the morning. So maybe it's, I don't know. I really don't know. I think I'd be letting the doctor explain that. And to be aware, make sure that, you know, you're aware, he or she is aware that it's confusing you. And what if they were having that problem, what would they recommend? Yeah, I thought that was pretty low as well, Kimmy, to wake up with your fasting in the fours. So it sounds to me like you're doing a bit of a roller coaster. I'm expecting mine to be in the sevens this time. But, I'm not on any medication at this time. And I believe I've got to hit 7 twice in a row to need to take the medication. So what I am aware of is I've also got Christmas cookies coming up. So I'm going to be doubly careful of what I eat now, because I'm really struggling to keep my blood sugar down. And I need, more exercise, more water, more everything. And if I want to eat a cookie, I got to be even more diligent. That's you're saying that your fasting can go down to as low as 70? I want to tell you that sounds like really dangerous level to me, but I'm not a doctor. I don't think mine even goes that low. Yeah, that would be, right, that's in the 4 range in Canada. Wow. All right, so I'm hoping that you all got something out of today's broadcast, and if so, make sure that you think about this. This is the season normally where we have pretty high feelings going on. And now we've got the pandemic at the same time. And so I believe that we all need to be more vigilant, more aware. We got to talk about it a lot more and help each other a lot more. This is a difficult time of the year, the best of times for a lot of people. I'm looking at those of you who are used to entertaining and now you can't. Those of you who are used to having your families over for Christmas and now you can't. And then there are those of us who don't have families that come together, and it's like, it is going to be a difficult year. And yet we can choose to find things to entertain ourselves if we want to. We are, and I will repeat this every week, as lonely as we choose to be. We have the technology we have never had before. We can talk to one another and we can tell the truth to one another and we can interact better than we ever have before, for which I believe we need to be duly grateful. And I look at it and go, it is scary out there. I found out, for example, when I went to visit my neighbor at my house, that her daughter-in-law's parents have both got COVID. One is in a coma and on a ventilator, and the other is pretty sick. And so you look at it and I just went, wow, how scary was that? And quite honestly, my neighbor looked whiter than I've ever seen her. She looked really stressed. She was busy baking for her son because her daughter-in-law had gone to look after her parents. And she was busy baking for her son and her grandchildren. And you could tell that that was the only thing she could do, right? Is she could bake and she could cook the meals and she could do that to help the family. And I was so glad that I took her some bread. I was, because you could tell that really made her happy. She was so busy giving to others. But I want to say it's the first time I have seen her look not well. And I wanted to cry. I didn't give her a hug. I'm really scared about that at the moment. Yeah, and Jeannie's saying, I've decided that, York as her husband and I will have baked ham for Christmas. Yeah, maybe just the two of us. Yeah. And what I do is every week I'm trying to buy an extra something. This week I bought some turkey. I will also buy a ham, some ham, because what I like about ham is that it's really useful for adding to salads and things, or putting into mac and cheese, or, there are so many different ways you can use the ham. So that's a great thing. Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate that. And so you look at it and go, keep feeling the feelings. Don't stuff them down. If you need to vent, have a buddy that you can vent with. By the way, Kimmy, how are you doing? I've really been noticing your steps are coming up, and I'm hoping that you feel glad about that you can see that you're doing something to help yourself. And so I just wanted to thank you for being part of the fitness group and showing willing to do that work. Well done. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? That if you just have a buddy to do it with, it's amazing what a difference it makes. And that's what I love about the fitness group, is that we're all individually doing whatever we want to do, but we get to share it with everybody else just to show that we are committed to it. And that is the important part. So stay safe, everybody. Be extra vigilant about staying safe. Remember, make sure you wash your hands a lot. Make sure that if you're outside, that you're wearing protection, but not just for you, but because who knows who you're going to meet that isn't wearing protection. Make sure you get fresh air, even though, go out at different times from everybody else, but get some fresh air. And do what so many other people have done. One of the great ways to feel better about yourself is to give to others. All right, so Kimmy's saying, I've been doing it inside. It's too cold here. Exactly. And I found, for example, Kimmy, I'm in an apartment building now until I go back to my house. And I found that it's got 2 parking levels. And if I feel like I need to get, I'm going stir crazy, I will literally go down, walk all the way down, and then walk the parking garages. Because that's, different. Yes, Jeannie's also saying, and it's easy to freeze ham. Yeah, that's what I think. It's a great idea. I might get a small one, but yeah. I like ham because, as I said, it goes nicely in, on top of a salad. It goes nicely in mac and cheese. There's so many different ways that you can use it. And by the way, it's great to fry up for breakfast. Good protein. Oh, here's a nice one. Just before I go, here's a tip. Actually, it came from my sister. So this one is a nice one, which is to take thinly sliced ham and put it in a muffin tin. And you can even do this with deli ham if you've got that, but put it in a muffin tin and then drop an egg into it. And then cook it a little bit, for about 10 minutes or whatever, and then just put a bit of cheese over the top and some chives, and then put it in and bake it a little bit more. And either eat that as it is or put it on top of an English muffin or some toast, a whole wheat toast, and it makes a really great looking and tasty snack. So I hope that you will try that. So Kimmy's saying, I go outside real fast to get some air, even if it's to stand by the door for a while. Well done. I'm lucky I've got a balcony here, so I open up the door while I'm doing my exercises. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here and for supporting each other. This is how we grow. We hear about everybody's real life stresses, everybody's real life feelings, everybody's real life. And then we understand we are not alone. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you for being here. We'll see you this evening. Bye-bye for now.